What I want to talk to you about today is the art of doing hard shit. And I also want to talk to you why it's hard to do hard shit. Okay? Because I think doing hard shit is something that I've been working on for about, 20 years. And I've been always wanting to do something bigger than what I've been able to do before. Who here is motivated by money? That's okay. Who here is motivated by impact? Put your hands down for me. Who here is motivated by getting a trophy? I'm an achievement guy. Like, I want trophies. The bigger the award, the bigger the challenge, the harder I fight. Like, that's just who I am. And I realized that to be able to do that, I had to get really good at doing hard shit. I had to be really good at learning new things. I had to have an ironclad mindset. I had to become something I like to call a fanatic. Because when I became a fanatic, there's nothing that could stop me. Earlier, we were talking about Mom when we found out she had cancer again, and I decided to go on this journey to lose a lot of weight to inspire her as she was going through her battle. And I decided one day, no reason to do this. I have no upper hand to do this, but I was like, you know what? I'm going to be on American Ninja Warrior. And I called my buddy Brett, and I said, Brett, I have a little drawing. It was literally 4 posts connected to the top, post hole digger, and a couple obstacles. I said, can you help me build this in my backyard? And he said, yeah, sure, I guess. So we go over there and we start building this out. Within about 3 months, it was 75 feet long, had 130 obstacles, warp wall, double salmon ladder, 17 feet tall, and it was covered in like really gross mattresses on the ground. So if I fell, which I did a few times, it wouldn't hurt me. Hi. Hi. That was awkward. Just kidding. And within 9 months, I was on the top 100 in the entire world from that moment. And I think learning how to do hard shit and being able to do it quickly and putting yourself in the right headspace and setting yourself up to be able to literally power through anything you could ever need is something that a lot of people would love to learn how to do. And I think in deal making, this tracks. This is exactly what we're doing, is we're looking to do something a lot harder than we were doing before. So that's what I want to talk to you about. But before we go into that, I want to talk about why it's hard to do hard shit specifically, right? If my clicker will work. Let's see here. Most of you in this room have set goals. Quite a few people don't set any goals in their entire life, which is really interesting. But what I got to tell you is that only 10% of goals set, period, are ever achieved. I think it's coming back up. No big deal. There you go. Even in a room like this full of really high achievers, people who have the ability to be self-motivated, people who have been out there working hard for a long time, mastered their craft, they're trying to take on something big in their life. But even in this room with people like you, still, there's only a small percentage of people who actually achieve their goals. And it's kind of sad. And I want to talk about why, right? So only 10% of you actually hit your goals, right? So let's talk about why. I've studied this concept for a long time, and I've read so many books, hundreds of books on success and money and motivation and the human brain and how we think. And it's interesting, if you start studying that, you're going to see a lot of conflicting opinions. Like, why don't people achieve their goals? Go ask OpenAI or ChatGPT or Google. You may get a whole bunch of different answers. But I've been able to take all of the books I've read and kind of figured out my theory on why we don't achieve the goals that we try to set. And it's because there's an enemy among us. And what's interesting about this enemy is every single one of you have this enemy inside of you. No one's immune. You could be a billionaire. You could be dead broke. You could be somebody who's 65 years old and achieved everything you could ever want in life. Yet this silent enemy is here. It's lurking. It's kind of creepy, actually. It is kind of creepy. It's always here. No one's immune. And think about people like yourself who are strong-willed, self-motivated, disciplined, have strong willpower, people who actually go after big things in life who aren't afraid of that. It's in you. And imagine somebody who's weak-willed, somebody who is not like you in this room. It literally is like chaining a 500-pound weight to their ankles and throwing them in the ocean. It's holding people back. This enemy is very, very scary. I want you to take this seriously. Very, very scary. So who or what is this person or this enemy or this thing? I want to introduce you to the enemy. It's called subconscious reluctance. The subconscious is a very, very amazing thing that allows us to breathe without having to think about it, but it also is the one thing that holds us back the most. So before we dive into what that is and subconscious reluctance, so you can really learn more about this enemy and how to overcome it, I want to talk about how we got in this room here today. Most people started with a dream. They had this moment where they said, you know what, I want to do something bigger than what I'm doing now. Maybe you were a W-2 or an employee, and you said, I don't want to go through what I've been through the last 20 years. I don't want to keep funding my boss's boat. I want to be doing something for my family. I want the benefits of business ownership. I want to buy a life-changing, cash-flowing business. Maybe you had a different kind of moment, but you set this new target or goal for your life, and you've been out there working towards that. And you made this commitment and says, I'm going to give this a shot, right? This is how we got here today. And you want to either do a big exit or you want to do a roll-up. And maybe you came in thinking small about laundromats and car washes, and your vision has expanded tremendously as you got around other people in the room who are big thinkers. I see a lot of you shaking your head. Yes. It's perfectly normal, right? But really, when it comes down to it, you did commit. You did say, yes, let's give this a shot. Yes, I'm going to make this happen. You joined the program. You joined Protégé. You're attending all the Zoom calls. You're starting to add this into your calendar. You're making different changes to your daily routine, right? And you're enjoying the learning process. But what's really interesting is that's just not enough. For most of you, all of a sudden, you have this moment where, bam! You hit a brick wall. And you stop. And this is not a joke. Sometimes people have things in life that make them take a left turn. Sometimes you have deaths in the family. Sometimes you have bad diagnosis. Sometimes you have a job while you're doing this and you lose your job. There's all these things that can slow us down. Also, there's roadblocks that don't just stop you completely, but they really slow down your progress. They make you discouraged. You have these moments where you question yourself, is this worth it, right? This happens all the time. Some of you give up for no reason, like stubbing your toe. And you're like, it's not meant to be. I'm having a shitty day. Everybody knows someone like that. But I want you to know that a lot of this is not your fault. This is part of having this enemy inside of us. And all of a sudden, it gets just a little bit harder to do the things that you know you need to do. It gets harder for you to open your laptop. It gets harder for you to pick up the phone and call that seller. It gets harder to do the activities necessary to be successful. And that's just part of it. And then all of a sudden you start feeling discouraged, and it feels like maybe my outcome is far-fetched and maybe I can't do this. And unfortunately, that's something that we all have to deal with at some level. Some of us are better at dealing with it than others. But the question is why does this inevitably happen to almost everyone on earth? That's the question. And here's why. It's because our external environment is opposing our goals. And we're going to go into what the external environment is in detail, but that's why. Is your goals and your environment are not in line. They're not synced, okay? And here's the other thing. You can't willpower your way to success. There's so many people who want to get up, listen to motivational videos, and they want to work out and get their blood pumping, and they just want to go seize the day. But even doing that is not going to make you successful because you have to learn how to do something different, right? To successfully achieve your goals, you have to radically re-engineer your external environment. That's the key to this. You have to learn how to radically re-engineer your environment. Let's talk about what that is. The only way to really truly defeat this enemy is to do that. And it's kind of unfair because you didn't even know this was here. You didn't even know this enemy was inside of you. Yet, that's how it works. So before we dive into the environment stuff, let's talk about what subconscious reluctance really is and how it works. So we'll start with the subconscious mind. And we all know, if you've read any books about psychology and understanding the human brain, our subconscious mind is wired to protect us and maintain the status quo, right? This is why we don't take risks. This is why when we see a lion's den, we're not going to walk into the lion's den, right? It was designed for us to stay alive, okay? The subconscious mind works very hard in the background to help keep us in our comfort zone and protect us from perceived danger, even if it's not real. And as a result, we encounter change, and our subconscious often makes us resist that, right? So if we dive into the human brain specifically and look at it, unfortunately, this is how we're wired. This is how we were created. And really, we were damned before we ever began on this journey because of our subconscious. And our ambitions, our goal, our why, our aspirations, our family, none of these are strong enough to get you exactly what you want out of life. You may get some of it. You may achieve some goals, but only 10% of goals ever set are actually achieved. And that's been studied, right? And the reluctance we feel are for two reasons. One is because we have all these emotions that we can't necessarily control. And then actually, it's even just the anticipation of feeling the emotions that makes us stop. That's what holds us back. That's why we're hesitant, because we don't want to be uncomfortable, right? Does anyone enjoy being uncomfortable? I knew a guy I used to work with named Thomas, and he walked a little bit of a limp. And I asked him what was going on. He said, well, I got something going on with my toe. I had a lot of money. I said, why don't you go get it fixed? He said, no, I like it. I'm like, you like it? He's like, yeah. I'm afraid if I get comfortable, I'll get complacent. If I get complacent, my dreams will die. So I leave it injured because I don't want to ever feel comfortable. And that's one of the things that planted the seed in my mind around this concept. But that was a very powerful moment for me. I thought he's kind of weird, but I love the guy. He's super successful. But he needed to stay uncomfortable for a reason. I think it's beautiful, right? And this is why doing hard shit is hard. They don't call it easy shit for no, it's hard shit. It's why it's hard to do, because we have to beat this, right? And these feelings and these emotions I was talking about a second ago are things that everyone deals with at some level. And you got anxiety and you have fear. You also have this long-term goal, but you're really prioritizing the way you feel now over the way you should feel later. We let things today stop us from moving forward towards our goals because our priorities are misaligned, right? People sometimes seek to be perfectionist. And if they can't do something perfect, they feel so reluctant to do so because they don't want people laughing at them, right? This is a big problem inside of us. And I think first you have to start by being aware that it's there. If you're not aware of the problem, you can't address it, right? So we know the subconscious is powerful. Let's talk about how to beat it. You guys ready for this? Okay. Let's go. I want to let you know, though, what I am about to teach you could drastically impact the trajectory of your life if you let it. It doesn't have to, though. Don't feel obligated. You can put the notes away when you're done, never look at it again, and completely forget what I teach you. Or you can take it and understand it, internalize it, and put it to work. Okay? So let's keep moving. So one thing I want to let you know is I am not against you taking pictures of my slides. So you can take as many pictures as you want. So feel free. I'm not going to slow down. We don't do no child left behind, though. So be ready. Okay? Let's keep going. So it's only by changing our external environment that we can rewire our internal environment. That's a big thing I want you to understand. We have to re-engineer and rewire our internal environment by starting with our external environment, and that's the big secret. Success and failure are a product of our environment. There's a lot of people who will tell you otherwise. People say you're not defined by your upbringing. You're not defined by the family you were born into. You're not defined by your circumstances. That's bullshit. You are 110%. And I'll tell you why. So let's go into environments. You have three types of environments. You have your internal environment, you have your external environment, and you have your interpersonal. But for today, we're going to talk about specifically the external and how to re-engineer that. Think about your internal environment, your worldviews, your beliefs, your values. You weren't born with all these things, were you? Did anyone? Who doesn't like pickles? Were you born not liking pickles? Maybe. This is your internal system. Like, you got to understand that this didn't come from within inside you. It came from outside of you, right? You are who you hang out with. My mom used to tell me that all the time. Absolutely, here. And this is because the external environment shapes your internal environment. I think you got to understand that. Think about your external environment, what it is. It's really your surroundings, your physical surroundings, the people you choose to spend time with and create relationships with. It's the information that you absorb and you let inside your head. It's the food you put in your body. It's the music and the podcasts you listen to. This is your external environment, okay? This is huge. Good or bad, this is what it is. Good in, good out, bad in, bad out. This is what's shaping your worldviews. If you sat down one day and said, the only thing I'm ever going to do again is watch the news, you're going to be a very pessimistic person because the world's a shit show. And you're letting all this stuff into your head, and it's going to change your internal environment. Do you see the picture? This matters more than you could ever imagine, okay? So once again, you got to change your external environment. Therefore, we can rewire our internal environment, and that's the only way to be able to overcome this because we're born wired with that subconscious reluctance. That is something we're born with, and you have the ability to overcome it, okay? Success and failure are literally simply a product of your environment, okay? One of my favorite quotes here is, it's very hard to show up as the person you want to be when you are surrounded by an environment that makes you feel like a person you aren't. It's very powerful. You are who you hang out with. This is a real thing. It's not just a saying your mom says to you when you're 19 to make sure you don't hang out with losers and druggies. This is a real thing. Another great saying, you don't have to become the victim of your environment. You can be the architect of it. That's more true. Somebody who grew up in a rough neighborhood or a bad household, you have so much power for this, but you have to know that you are in control, okay? Your external environment shapes every aspect of your life, every single bit of it, okay? From your income to your waistline, your hobbies, your values, what you do every single day, the people you choose to spend time with. All of that comes from that. Every idea you've ever been exposed to has come from that, okay? So here's a great quote I want you to think about. This is from one of my favorite books, Willpower Doesn't Work by Dr. Benjamin Hardy. And he says, who you are and what you do is constrained by the people around you and the quality of information you consume. Garbage in, garbage out. Some of you, this may be a little slap in the face or kind of a wake-up call, and that's good. And the good news is you can mindfully and consciously change your external environment. That's what we're going to go into right now because we're going to beat this enemy. And I'm going to give you the blueprint to do it. You guys want this? Here it is, 13 secrets to rapidly re-engineer your external environment so you can win the internal war with your subconscious reluctance and take control of your outcome. How can we raise the statistic from 10% of people actually achieve the goals that are set closer to 50%? This is what we're trying to do here, okay? And if you're going to do that, like we talked about, you have to learn how to re-engineer your external environment. And what's tough for us is everyone has a home, right? We all go home from this. If you could just stay in this environment all the time, how much more successful would you be? Give a couple days to go and execute some stuff, but come back again and like this. We're not in this environment at home. We have our own external environments at home. We have friends at home, family. We have routines. We watch Netflix with our spouse at night while we're looking at our phones, drinking wine, even though we're not watching TV. Like we have our own environments that we live in, right? We have to learn how to take things that we learn here and change our external environment at home. So here are the 13 secrets. Number one, feel free to take pictures, right? I want you to accept this fact to be truth right now. You're not strong enough to do it alone. You have to accept that. You have to internalize that and understand that none of us were born with the strength needed to be game-changing leaders in this world and make a huge difference, okay? Our ambitions, our goals, our aspirations, our why, just like we talked about, none of these are strong enough, and you're not strong enough to do this alone. You got to understand that. If you believe you're strong enough and you got a chip on your shoulder and the world owes you everything and you're entitled and you're letting your past haunt you, this is going to be tough, but you got to be able to accept it, right? I'm not strong enough alone. Number two, you have to have an unwavering desire to change your external environment. If you don't want it, if you don't say, yes, I see it, I do see where my environment is taking me, I do see that my environment is not the perfect environment for me to be able to succeed and achieve my goals, you have to want it. I can't want it for you. That's number two, okay? And this is going to take a lot of time and persistence. A lot of self-awareness, a lot of introspection. You're going to have to keep score and pay attention to that and review it and reflect and think about what could I have done differently to see a different result. You have to want it though, okay? Number three, you're going to have to make some hard decisions. This is the tough part. You have to let some people go from your life. Some people are holding you back. They say you are the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with and the sum of the 5 people they spend the most time with. This is your external environment. When you go home, are you around people that are going to get you ready to succeed? Are they going to be in your corner? Are they going to be your advocate? Are they going to challenge you? Are they going to feed you the energy and the motivation you need? Are they going to be somebody who's wanting you to succeed? Maybe, maybe not, but got to make some hard decisions. Number 4, be in close and constant proximity to the right people. Just like coming to this room. That's a picture from yesterday. Some of you may be in that picture. You got to be in the right rooms. I mean, it's powerful. You get around the right people, it's absolutely crazy. So my good friend Patrick, business partner, Patrick's in the room somewhere. There he is. He came and spent 3-4 days with me in Alabama. And I said, what was the biggest thing you took away from our time together? And it was kind of a weird question to ask your friend. And he said, well, the biggest thing I took away is I've got to make it more of a focus to be intentional and come and be around the right people. Because he said, when I'm by myself, I'm in my own head. When I'm around people who are just my students, I never have the conversations that challenge me. I don't have anybody helping me get to the next level. And that was the big impact. Like just being with somebody, being with the right people makes the world of difference, right? Here's a great quote. Getting around the right people and learning the right things can change and alter your external environment, which will change your values, which will change your actions. That can change your outcome. Very powerful stuff. Hang out with the people you want to be in 10 years. And this is a big deal, not just on Zoom. Zoom is convenient, right? Everybody agrees Zoom's pretty convenient. COVID has made Zoom a very rich company. I almost bought stock in Zoom right before COVID. I was on my E-Trade account and I chose something else, and I actually didn't buy stock in Slack or Zoom. That was the 2 things I was looking at. Yeah, that was hindsight's 2020, right? But let's talk about Zoom. Zoom's literally killing human connection. There's studies going on about this. They actually say that the suicide rate, they're actually seeing that Zoom may actually play a part into that. They're saying that loneliness ages you faster than smoking. It's some scary stuff. Patrick taught me that. He was at a health conference in South Florida, and he learned that, and how people are now in this world where they're collaborating online and virtually to the point where they're not having as much human interaction, which quite a few things physically start to change in our bodies, as well as we start to get lonely. We start to miss the human connection. Like Zoom is literally killing it for me. You have to get around people. And that takes me to number 5. I think attending in-person events frequently and experience that human-to-human connection is absolutely vital. It is. I remember we had an office downtown. We moved around a couple times. And I remember the whole routine of driving to work, talking to mom on the phone, or dad before he passed away. I was talking to him on the way home. I had my commute. I got my 3 or 4 minute walk in, got my steps in. I got to collaborate. In the middle of a thing, we could be spontaneous, and I could go and take my buddy to lunch, and we could whiteboard and get Jimmy John's. And we had this, it was so amazing until it's gone. And then it's gone, and then you miss it. And all of a sudden we're working remotely. And I moved out to the lake house, and really I just have me and my wife and my kids, and sometimes I get to go see mom or Rob, but I miss it so much. I've got Jared who lives down the street from me, thank God, but I feel like, man, where is this? And if I wasn't as blessed as I am to be a part of maybe 10 to 15 events a year, I host a lot of events, and part of it, Carl and I and Patrick and I, we have all these events. Like, if I didn't have that human interaction consistently, I don't think I'd have any momentum in my life, because I think events create momentum. You have the ability to get around the right people, and then you're able to take that home with you. And it's not going to last you forever. It's like recharging your battery. It may give you another 60 days of just amazing motivation, but it won't last forever. So you got to consistently recharge that battery. And I think you have to stop and take a few days and not just be a passenger in your own life. Does anybody ever feel like a passenger in their own life sometimes? Yeah, I see some hands. It's kind of like that movie Click. You guys ever seen Click with Adam Sandler? Where he got into this uncomfortable moment, and he just fast forward. And all of a sudden, and fast forwarded it. And then as he got doing that again and again, he ended up fast forwarding all the way to the end, like maybe 20 years later. His kids hate him. He's divorced. Like, it's crazy. Sometimes we don't even know that our life's going by this fast because we're living in it so much. You got to step away from that. You've got to be more intentional, right? And I think working on your life and in your business and your acquisition journey is an important part of it. Number 6, this is huge for me. Raise the stakes. You are either rising up or shrinking down due to the demands of your situation. Have you ever heard the saying, they're going to rise to the occasion? If you don't have that occasion, you cannot rise. You have to raise the stakes. Think about this. Imagine going and doing 75 hard. And let's fast forward 75 days and you saw very little results. Why would that happen? You did what they said to do. You went outside twice a day for 45 minutes. You read a book for 10 minutes a day on self-improvement. You stuck to a diet, but you didn't see the results you wanted. Your diet was not high enough stakes. You did not make it hard on yourself. Your workouts were not hard. You got to raise the stakes, and you've got to add more demand on your situation to be able to really get anywhere you want to go in life. You have to get uncomfortable and raise the stakes, or you'll never achieve greatness. A lot of these quotes are from that book called Willpower Doesn't Work by Dr. Benjamin Hardy. I would add that to your reading list immediately. It's very powerful. Most people are living small, not because they lack the inherent talent, but because their situation is not demanding more of them. It's amazing. Think about an Olympic athlete. How did they become world class? Is it because they allowed themselves to sleep in? Is it because they didn't have anything on the line? Like they're fighting to be on stage for their country. The stakes are high. The pressure's high. But they rise to the occasion. They do the work they need to do because they know they have to. Pressure is everything, okay? They haven't placed enough of themselves in a position requiring them to become more than they are. Like, so going back to that last quote, think about that. Until you raise the stakes, you haven't placed yourself in a position requiring you to become more than you are. Just a powerful thought. Number 7, stress test yourself daily. To me, it is demand that brings out the exceptional qualities of men and women. We are a product of our situation, and we can control our external environment. It's just a paradigm shift more than anything else, right? Number 8, become insanely adaptable. You have to be able to pivot, take a hard hit, shrug it off like shedding in snakeskin, and keep moving. Some people say, let it run off you like water off a duck's back. You ever heard that concept? You got to be extremely adaptable. You got to be able to take a hit, pivot. Carl was talking about this earlier. The panel was talking about it, how there's so many things that got in their way on these long distance running journey of buying a business, 18 months, 13 months, 11 months. If they just let the smallest thing stop them, they wouldn't have closed those deals. 18 months, that's a long time, but $3 million in EBIT is also a pretty big number, Mark, right? You got to take a hit. You got to turn the other cheek. You got to shrug it off and keep moving and leave that snake skin behind, okay? Number 9, don't just rely on willpower or motivation. You cannot willpower your way to success. It's never going to happen. You can sit there and push a rock all day long. It's not going to work. Don't rely on that, okay? Number 10, this is a big one for me. And we'll talk about my hard shit in a minute, but I wasn't able to do hard shit until I became a fanatic. And I think it's very important to understand the exact intentional language here. Fanatic does not mean obsessed. I think obsession is kind of a negative connotation, right? It can have that. I want to be fanatical. Fanatics are people who are extremely enthusiastic about something and they're devoted to it. I think when I was on American Ninja Warrior and training for that, I used to do push-ups while starving myself, while watching TV and like visualizing myself up there instead of that person. I was fanatical. I woke up in the morning and walked outside. I built a 75-foot course in my backyard to hold myself accountable. I wanted to be able to walk past that. And if I chose not to work out, I wanted to feel that guilt. That's how fanatical I was about it. And that's why I got it. Went from not even being able to do a pull-up to the top 100 in the world in 9 months without lifting a single weight. I could not have done that unless I was a fanatic. You know what really sucks even worse than that is I got that taken away from me. In 2018, I fell and I landed like this on a mat. Well, the mat moved. I hit concrete from 12 feet and I shattered my hand all the way up, tore my sagittal band extender tendon, lateral ligaments, metal plates in my hand. It got taken from me. And I lost the one thing that was giving me the motivation I needed every day to do hard shit. There was about a year and a half there where I lost it completely until I met Carl and I had another reason to become a fanatic again. And then you saw what we've been able to accomplish. This room is a testament of this man's brilliant mind and his big, beautiful heart and how he wants to help everyone get to the next level. I got to be a part of his mission and become a fanatic about this. And it's amazing. We've done some really hard stuff, okay? Number 11, enjoy the journey. It's the only thing that's real or promised. And until you've lost someone close to you, you don't understand this, and that's okay. Hopefully you don't. But I want you to know that you have to learn from every single moment, good, bad, or indifferent. And your goal is to focus on seeking wisdom and gaining experience and knowledge, things that you can leverage for the rest of your life over just a very specific result. I talked about this earlier with the capital raising panel. A lot of times we have to change the way we define success. If you have success as this one specific physical goal, that may be one of the biggest problems. A lot of times you got to be open to embrace the journey. I think in the journey is the beauty, not the destination, okay? Number 12, focus on the process, not just the results. This is absolutely key. If the only thing you track is results, you're very unlikely to get there. When Carl asked you to track things, right, what do you track? Is it the results? It's the process. Originate deals, meet sellers, make offers. If he only said track how many deals did you close this week, would that not be a little demoralizing every week when you show up and have to put a 0, maybe a 1 every once in a while? We've got to stay focused on the process, okay? Carl, one of my favorite sayings is you never fail in deal making, you only learn, right? And I think that's the destination is success, and that's what we all go for, but really the journey is that failing, is that learning. That's everything, okay? Number 13, seek out and embrace extreme accountability. Let's think about 3 different people decide to get into shape one day. 3 of you to say, all right, I'm going to get into shape. One of you goes and gets a Planet Fitness membership, $10 a month. You show up, you're excited. You get there, you're like, all right, what do I do? Has anybody ever done that? You walk in, everybody's grunting with their headphones on. It's kind of awkward. You hear really weird noises from the shoes, from the treadmills, all in sync. There may be a TV playing in the background. Someone's blowing their nose. You're like, all right, what do I do? You got somebody else who goes and says, all right, I'm going to download an app. And they download this app, and maybe it's something with powerlifting or calisthenics, and they're over there and they're looking down their phone. They're doing their workouts every day, and they keep showing up. And then the third person decided to hire a personal trainer, somebody who's going to literally hold them accountable at every level, allow them to not have to think too much about the everything, but just do what I say to do, and you'll see results. Somebody's holding them accountable, sitting down, looking at their diet diary and say, what did you eat? Let's look at the micros, let's look at the macros. Who's going to see the best results? It's going to be the third person, the person who hired a personal trainer. I think if you're not willing to have extreme accountability, you're almost not willing to put yourself in the position to be successful, because we already know that subconscious reluctance, this enemy we have inside of us, is going to stop us. Every time we feel uncomfortable or we're anticipating feeling uncomfortable, we're going to have that moment of hesitation. And even all the willpower in the world won't keep getting you up again and again and again. Carl does say that even the biggest why, having the biggest why will help you solve any how. And the why is big, but I'll tell you, the way that we're wired as humans will eventually stop you. That's how we're built, okay? So that's that. In my world, I've always believed that it takes a team of people, and you have to have a new re-engineered external environment to hold you accountable to do what you need to be successful, right? And I think doing hard shit is something that not everyone wants to do, but the people who do want to do it, you've either figured it out or you haven't. And this is huge. So some of my hard shit, as much as it doesn't sound really impressive to you, is that's a 10-pound bass up in the top left-hand corner. I fished for 30 years to catch that fish. I live on a lake. I go fishing 4 days a week for about 5 months of the year. Like I put in a lot of time and effort. I never gave up, and I did it. I was on American Ninja Warrior. I qualified for the World Championships in obstacle course racing. I couldn't even run a quarter mile. I got to the point where I was doing 200 obstacles in the marathon. Working on my clicker? Perfect. Inc. 5000 awards, got a couple of those. I wrote 2 best-selling books. This is even 10 or 11 years ago. You can see that baby face. Like, doing hard shit is a way of life. We'll just wait on this, okay? 2 seconds. So, you can beat subconscious reluctance. That's what I want you to walk away from this with. It's very hard to show up as the person you want to be when you're surrounded by an environment that makes you feel like a person you aren't. If you can walk away with anything today, just understanding that you can do almost anything you put your mind to, you have to understand that you're not strong enough. You have to manifest enough want and desire to change your external environment. And we know that our external environments are actually who we are. We are a result of our circumstances and our situation. And the one big thing is raise the stakes. If you're not fighting for something amazing, if you don't actually have a reason that you have to get up and do it, not because you want to, but you have to. You've got to add demand to your situation. You'll never rise to the occasion without it. It's a very powerful thing. So in closing, just want you to know you owe it to yourself and those who you're fighting for to take the right corrective actions to set you up for success. Because no one came in this room with the intentions of not achieving their goals. No one came in this room saying, I want to fail, right? And the reason why I want to talk about this to begin with is I have a lot of people ask me, first of all, you look like you're 25, Chris. How on earth do you have kids in high school and you've done as much as you've done? And I think the reason why I've been able to be successful is because of a lot of things. It's a combination of all my perspectives. But at the end of the day, I was blessed enough to get a clear vision at 25 years old, almost 14 years ago. And the second thing is I realized that if I do these things and I become a fanatic about it, and I make sure that I really, really protect my external environment and put myself in a position where I can grow and flourish, that I know I can achieve just about anything. And I've been doing some hard shit for a long time. A lot of stuff I've never even told you about that I've achieved because it's not important, right? But I want you to know that anything is possible in this life, but you just have to know what it is. When I teach sales a lot, we always start with like, all right, so let's understand what happened. Let's call it like it is. Because if you can't identify what's going on, you can't solve it. So I wanted you to be able to have an understanding of why we're wired the way we're wired. Why do we always not give up? We're not giving up, but why are we having such a hard time achieving our goals? And it's because of these reasons. Success and failure at the end of the day are a product of your environment. A lot of you are way ahead of the curve because you're here. You're not at home watching Netflix or football, although I know a lot of guys in here are looking at their phones right now checking scores. But you're here. You're working on yourself. You're stepping away from being a passenger in your own life. You're already on the way. Just being in this room. Like I said, if we could all be in this room together, even for 3 days a month, our whole world would absolutely change. Carl and I don't think we have it in us to do every 3 days every month. Man, that would be tiring, but we know that that would put you guys in this environment to thrive. So, thank you.